employees retire, we set them free, shaking the ground with epiphany. Fresh thinking loud, it's our decree. Unconventional wisdom dancing on the beat.
Hello and welcome to Unconventional Wisdom, about conventional wisdom, where cliches come to retire and fresh thinking we inspire. Today, I am quite excited to introduce you to Leilani Quiray. She is the founder and CEO of Be the Change HR. They have a social justice part of what they do too, which is super fabulous and important work to be done. Leilani, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Leilani Quiray, founder and CEO of Be the Change HR. So Be the Change HR is a human resources consulting firm that helps small and mid-market businesses with their HR. Anything simple from doing an employee handbook all the way to the strategic side of helping build a happy, healthy workforce. And I built Be the Change HR as a social impact organization. So it's called that for a reason. We dedicate 1% of our top line revenue to a job readiness program where we teach job readiness skills. So that means how to write a resume, how to interview, and how to search for a job, specifically to survivors of sex trafficking. We've partnered with 8 nonprofits across the US that help men and women who are coming out of trafficking to gain those skills so they can find healthy, gainful employment. I'm over the moon. I got to see 2 of my nonprofit partners in Chicago last week, Emmaus and Naomi's house. We're so mission driven, and I am so mission driven at Be the Change HR.
Yeah. And you said one thing, which I do want to just point out. You said, like, as simple as an employee handbook, but any employer who has gotten sued before realizes that actually having a good, clear, well-written handbook that covers all the very important things is actually not so simple. The reason why Leilani is so good at what she does is because it's simple for her, but a very important thing for companies to have, which is updated handbooks that really, like I said, are clear. Yeah.
Right. Simple to us, but on the smaller side, it can be, I, we need a policy for this. Can you help us? Of course. But also, we help manage the whole workplace. And then I love to share a little bit about myself on the personal side. I am an endurance athlete. I am an avid ice climber and rock climber. Anything that has to do with adventure, I will at least try it once. I've gone skydiving once. I don't think I'd ever do that again. But love those types of things. And then I'm a big tea fan.
So you said ice climbing. It's very funny that you are like, no, I think skydiving is quite my thing, but I will climb up ice. Yeah.
And a permanent ice wall that could fall at any time seems safer to me than skydiving.
Okay. And then the one thing that you did not mention, which I am surprised about, is your running triathlon. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I capture that in endurance athlete. I do half Ironman distances for fun. So find me half of the year in my season, I'll do anywhere from 3 to 5 triathlon races, all culminating in a big race. And for those of you that don't know, it's called an Ironman 70.3. It is a 1.25 mile swim, a 56-mile bike ride, followed by a half marathon, all to be completed in under 8 hours.
Of course.
Put a time limit on it, make it harder.
So that's awesome. You are talking to a true badass here. Let's just say that. All right. Here is your random question.
Yep.
What is the most embarrassing fashion trend that you used to rock?
I can see the picture in my head. No surprise, this would be in junior high. I'm wearing a cable knit hot pink sweater with a white turtleneck underneath, but that's not the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part is my hair. I have these feathered bangs that stick out so far in the photo, and I have a high ponytail with these big floofy bangs in the front, this high ponytail. And then I was already an awkward preteen at the time, and just add that into it.
Oh, that is so funny. Yeah. I don't know if it's an embarrassing fashion trend, but probably one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me. I was probably in ninth grade, and I was wearing these platform, like really high heels with platforms, right? Like with my bell-bottom jeans, because I'm that old. And I'm in a movie theater, and this is when movie theaters had the poles with the velvet ropes for the lines. And so I'm walking on the carpet and I stumble a little bit. And so I reach out to the pole, and like a domino effect, the entire length or width of the movie theater, one by one, the entire thing falls down. And then everybody is looking at me like, she did that. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
really embarrassed. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
It's been mortified.
yeah, exactly. So thank God there wasn't social media, so nobody captured it and put it up like on TikTok. But there you go. All right. Why don't you tell us, like, you've got a number of people working for you, right?
Yeah, I have this like slight change when I say that. I work with these individuals. Yeah.
Okay. You've grown your company, you've been a leader for a long time. So when you were young and you thought success would look like a certain thing because of maybe how it was modeled for you, or what people told you, or just what society says
Mhm.
success looks like. And then you grew this company and now you have had to figure out what being a leader looks like for yourself. What was the thing that you thought it was going to look like, and what does it actually look like for you?
Yeah, when I was little, I would say I wanted to be an attorney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I didn't fall too far from that in a sense, although all of our contracts state we are not attorneys very clearly. We're not. I even joke around, I have a shirt that says, I am comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. But I thought when I was little, I wanted to be that. And then at one point, go into international relations. And I thought going to school, getting a degree, and working at a great company where you could get great benefits and make decent money was the goal, to be financially independent. My mom instilled that in me. Being a young woman growing up constantly was like, you need to be able to take care of yourself, no one else. Okay, I got it. But now, today, the biggest marker of my success is twofold. One, am I in charge of my own time? Do I have freedom in what
Mm.
I do in basically my everyday life? Am I free in that way? And then the other is, how much impact can I make in my circle of influence when there is so much hurt and tragedy?
And that is not what convention would say. Convention would say you have to make a lot of money and you have to work hard, which is interesting, right? Because the work hard, there's a misalignment there. You work hard, right? But traditionally, work hard means that you're not in charge of your own time, that you work a lot and work hard are intricately connected, right? As opposed to, yes, I do work hard and I also am in charge of my own time.
Yeah, this might make it harder, but I'm not proving it to anyone else
Right.
except me. The person who's going to push me the most is going to be me anyway. It's not going to be someone on the outside. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, I work hard, but I work hard for me. I work hard for the purpose. I work very hard for the individuals that are in this company. In good times, it's easier, but in bad is when I'm definitely like nose to the grindstone. I'm going to make it happen for everyone around me. But yeah, it's a lot different than me being like, I gotta prove my worth here. It's no, I am very worthy. And I know that about myself. It's being able to share it with everyone around me in
Uh-huh.
various different ways.
That makes sense. So, as owning a successful company, being a successful leader, what's one thing that people assume that you've got figured out that you still wrestle with on the inside?
Yeah, one of the things that people know me will say is, you're so strong. I know you're strong. So when things get difficult, usually the response is, you got this, you're strong. And that is true, but I'm also like a bowl of jello on the inside. And in those moments can feel very vulnerable, very soft in those moments. And I don't make myself be strong all the time. And I'm really honest with people, even business wise, when they come up and I'm having a really bad day and I'm like, you know what? I think today I should order Postmates and eat Thai food in bed. I don't tell everybody that all of that, but I tell them, hey, I'm having a tough emotional day because I don't want to be strong all the time and I need some time to myself. And then if you ever get that message from me in parentheses, you'll know, oh, she's watching Netflix and eating Thai food in bed. But giving myself like the freedom to not be strong, and cry about it because I know, okay, that's the time to do that. Give myself that, recognize the feelings that I'm having, let them pass through me so that the next day can pull up by the bootstraps if I'm ready to go back and be that badass, tough person that I also am. But yes, I'm
Right.
really sensitive.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a really important point, which is to feel the feelings, right? So I think so often we just push it down, right? Like we don't have time for it or we don't have capacity for it. Somebody did a study. If you were actually to sit in whatever feeling you're having and let it pass all the way through, it takes no longer than 1.5 minutes for that feeling to fully pass through your body. But we don't give it time.
Yeah, there's a personal practice I've done when I'm in like real pain, like anguish. And it is to put my hand on my stomach and validate myself. It's okay to feel this way because these things happen. So, first feels like sadness vomit, but it's really bad, right? But this thing happened to you and it's really sad. So, feel the sadness, feel into it. And yeah, I'm a minute and a half. That sounds short, but if you give your time to process whatever emotion that is, and at the end of the day, it makes you a better person and a better leader, you're a better business owner because you're not stuffing this down inside till it blows up in another way. Insert what the thing
Right.
would be. Yeah.
Exactly. Then you're like to your assistant, oh my God, spelled that word in an email. And they're like, where did that come from?
She didn't cry properly today. She
Yeah.
needs to feel her feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think it is really a very challenging thing because I think when you talk about being a leader in a company, whether you own your own business or you're in a business where you are a leader, I think the idea around being real and allowing yourself that, and yet not going to the point where you're really oversharing everything.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's one line, right? Like I think it moves, but I just think it's worth saying, right? Is I like to say everybody doesn't need to know everything that I think and feel.
Yeah, 100%. But I think when you're a leader, if it is affecting your schedule, your day, your team, you need space or time.
Yeah.
You can deliver in a way of, I'm having a tough time personally right now, and I need a minute. And I've done it on the back end of snapping at someone where I'm like, oh, so I go back and I'm, you know what? That wasn't about you at all. It was about me. I apologize. You should not have been spoken to that way. I'm going through a tough time, not an excuse, but just we give you like a full picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll be more mindful next time. Let me know if you're okay. And so I've done that. And also there's other ways to practice that in being a leader. One is admitting your mistakes, the business mistakes that you make, right? It's hard. And trust me, there's sometimes I've wanted to be like, maybe I can fudge this where they won't really know that I didn't hit the target that I said I was going to hit. And but still it's, oh no, you got to just show up and be like, okay, I didn't meet the goal, but here's what I'm planning to do. I think those are like very big micro practices in being vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're also modeling. If you can't ever admit that you made a mistake, and yet you expect the people that work for you to own up to their own mistakes, like that's a total misalignment.
Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it this way, but you're right. On the other end, if someone makes a mistake, either they come tell us or I ask, hey, this thing, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, great. We just don't do that again. Fantastic. It's okay to make
Right.
mistakes. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you've just got to create that psychological safety. where people can own their own stuff. And if they notice that they make a mistake, they can actually bring it up themselves. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So if you could rewrite the rule book on leadership, what's one outdated belief that you'd throw away and what would you replace it with?
I've already touched on this in some other ways, but that we need to know everything and have it all together. At the end of the day, everything falls back on us, right? If you're in the C-suite, if you're a leader of your team, if you own a business, the mistakes that your team makes or project or company isn't going right, it's like it ends on you. And we don't need to know it all. It's how we recover. That's the important part and what lessons we learn along the way. And listen, I am a perfectionist. So it's coming from someone like me, and I've really had to learn. I don't have to know everything right in the moment. It's exciting to go learn new things, or I can go get a resource. I don't have to know that. Have someone else come in and do it. And that's okay.
And have you ever had the experience of your team expecting you to know everything?
Maybe, but maybe that's in my head. I don't think they've ever flat out come out and said, you should know this. But maybe in my head, it's I need to give them an answer now. And I've done that where I've given an answer and then later they tell me that answer. I'd be like, I said that? Why would I say that? This is a better route to go. If anybody on my team is listening, I'm notorious for that actually. That's one of the things I'm very aware of and have to work on, of these things where I say something like in the moment and then later I'm like, huh? No, this is a better way. They get redirected. Yeah, I'm guilty.
I think that I have a very similar approach with my team, which is very collaborative, right? Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? But there is a time when the leader needs to be in the room also, right? So I think sometimes it's a balance between being able to say, let me think about that and I will get back to you versus abdicating or, like you said, just coming up with something off the top of your head without thinking about it.
Yeah,
And here's the tricky part is that there's not just one rule. Oh, you always do it this way.
totally.
Yeah. Last week was meeting with a client after a fairly large project that I had done. And I had created recommendations and findings report for them. And I was presenting it to them. And as I was going through it, I said something that wasn't on the report. Like in my mind, I was like, oh, that was good. I didn't even know I thought that.
I like it.
Sometimes it works, but
Yeah.
other times you really do need to give something to some consideration. Yeah. What's one unconventional habit or mindset shift that's helped you grow your business, even though it might have gone against typical advice?
Yeah. So I'm in my 8th year. Be rounding out 8, headed into 9 in a few months. Very exciting for me. I can't believe that. Even saying that out loud, that's crazy. Okay. The first few years, I was running myself into the ground. This is pre-COVID. 12-hour days in a manual car driving to and from LA. So any of my traffic people understand what that means if you drive a stick. My left foot would get numb at one point from all the on and off the clutch. And breaking down a couple times a week, like just a heap of tears on the floor of like just exhausted and overwhelmed. And I started to do work with a coach and on my own of I can't exist this way anymore. Now, that I know people who do that still, like they can get up and leave at 5 and network all day long and meeting, and it fulfills them. I'm not that way. I'm an ambivert. I only exist and last so long in social situations. I'm that person that doesn't say goodbye to everyone at the end. At one point, I'm like, my whole body just, ugh, and I'm like, I have to get out of here. And fast forward to today, it has been a journey to realize that I do not have to work a full 40 heavy hours a week to be successful, to get done what I need to get done, to grow this business, to make the impact I do with the survivors we work with and the communities that I'm in, that I can draw very hard boundaries around when I take networking calls, how many I do. I'm currently in a phase of not doing any one-on-ones anymore to make room for writing a book. It's tough, but I'd like to say you can scale or grow a business exponentially without running yourself into the ground and working all the time, or even 40 hours a week. If you do it mindfully, you can do it in less and save time for yourself. I'll say what I do. So I'm not doing my triathlon training. Look how excited I am. I'm excited to go to Pilates or like a dance class instead of sitting on my cycling trainer for 4 hours straight. I'm having time to do that. And in the regular day, instead of pushing it into night, having more space for myself.
Yeah. You know, I think you bring up such an interesting point. Although I said it before, I think it's this conventional wisdom around what working hard looks like, how many hours that we have to work in a day in order to feel like we're successful. Like, I do think that there does feel like pressure. Oh my God, if I go to a Pilates class at 11 o'clock in the morning, that I'm a slacker.
Yeah, guilty.
And
That's
oh
why
my God, the people in class will think that I don't work. Yeah.
totally.
So I think those are challenging things to navigate.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really just the things that are in our own head.
I definitely think so. And also, I want to give credit to what I did in the beginning got me here. And maybe it's how it happened. It was necessary for me at that time to do those things, whether to learn the lesson or grow the business. That's what I was doing, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. And that set me up to be where I'm at today. So I'm not saying this is always achievable all the time. I'm sure some of my performance coaches would definitely say it is. But I'll say that was my journey and understanding that I don't have to exert myself that much. I find other places to do that where it's my recreation, and I think I need that. I need to drive towards something, but now it's being funneled into long distance triathlon and my ice climbing and the business, but in spurts.
It's really interesting because you said about writing a book, and I'm actually in the middle of writing a book too. And ironically, I was working with one of my teammates today on the chapter on balance. And what my stance on that is really exactly what you said, which I think a lot of people are looking for this work-life balance, which I think A doesn't exist, right? There's not work-life balance, there's just life. My point in that chapter is exactly what you just said, which is that sometimes balance for you is I'm on a full on sprint to get this done, and I'm going to put the time and energy into this and not do these other things because that's a choice that I'm making, but it's a sprint on that. And then at other times, like these other things take priority, right? And it's really being mindful of making the choices, consciously making the choices versus letting external factors just dictate your life.
Yeah. 100%. I didn't do this all in one fell swoop. It was like just simple boundaries being put into place. No more meetings after 5. And try that, but then feeling the guilt of what you got to fit it all in and how do you do? And I used to say I never work weekends, but I have found that I like creating for the business on weekends where it's quiet and I have the space to think through. And let's say I'm building a new program. That's the perfect time for me to do it in my athleisure in a tea shop in Midtown somewhere. And I
Mhm.
like that, putting my headphones in and listening to the music that makes me feel like I'm in the zone. It's not like I only work Monday through Friday. I used to say that all the time. Now it's my weekends are for my creative company work and I enjoy that. And that's the point, right? I'm healthy,
Right,
I'm happy, I'm balanced, I have freedom, and I
right.
enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that this is such a random thing to say, but can I just tell you that I just got Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses.
Oh,
So I could dictate a chapter of my book like into my glasses as I'm taking a walk because I'm just that cool.
I do that. I voice memo ideas that I turn into blogs.
There you go.
Because I'm inspired. You probably know this for the work that you do. It usually happens when I'm hiking and enjoying, and this great idea pops into my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did this tea with Leilani video while rock climbing safely. I'm like in the Dolomites, and that was because it like inspiration struck me a couple hundred feet in the air.
Yeah.
So It's just so fun to do.
Yeah, there you go. I will just say that never happens for me because I am never that high off the ground, ever. Although, you know what's very funny is that, so two things about that. One, my son is a rock climber and his partner, so they do that. But second of all, do you know that being afraid of heights is actually programmed, or not being afraid of heights is actually programmed into your DNA?
I did not know that, and I am afraid of heights, but it's like a harnessing of that fear, right? And a mantra to myself. I say things like, I'm safe, trust your feet, and those types of things. Trust your
Yeah,
tools, trust your play partner.
yeah.
But I do get you call them like an Elvis leg, so the fear shakes when you're at that. But I am afraid of heights, just not to the extent to where I completely shut down. I
There
can
you go.
yeah, go to
And I think that's true, right? That you can overcome your fear, but the fear itself is programmed in. And I just choose not to overcome it.
not everyone needs to do these crazy things. Like I'm gonna say that now. You don't have to want to run a 5K or climb a rock. Everybody has their things. For me, oh my gosh, if you were to go into an ocean and tell me, come follow me, you would have to pick me up and carry me like a baby to get me even into like hip level. I'm afraid of the ocean. So everybody has their thing.
Right. Everybody has their thing. I love that. I just truly love that. All right. What's one conventional habit or mindset that's helped you grow your business?
Yes, a couple things. I am relentless. This never give up, keep going. It's built into who I am. And again, an endurance athlete. One of my talents is I can do very hard things for very long periods of time and think it's fun. I'll say this is really hard and maybe I'm miserable, but I still think it's fun. And so I think that's a conventional thing of if you're going to go after something, then do it. And I would almost encourage someone to say, if you have a goal, then there's no plan B. If you look at it that I'm going to go after this and that's all there is, I think that's super helpful. And the other one that I've instilled is keep growing, keep educating yourself. Before I started this business, I wasn't in a job longer than 2 years. And the main reason for me changing all the time is I would get bored. I would be able to do the job of 1 to 2 people, right? I'd make it as simple as it could be. And then I'd be like, and now what? There's nothing else to do. So for me to be in this business and really enjoy it 95% of the time, there's always the other five where I'm like, what is happening? Has been because I've decided that I would learn every aspect I needed to in the business until I could hand it off to someone else, except taxes and legal stuff. Not learning that and growing myself. But what that's been able to do is I can do the job of a CFO now. And I've learned that piece and I can do the job of the lead salesperson. And now I've built a sales team and I'm training them and handing it off to them. And it just breadth of knowledge in business. And so I think it's important to always learn and grow and just keep growing and keep going. There's free courses out there to going to paying for a resource or school. Just constantly do it and make yourself a better person and widen your knowledge base.
You can definitely outsource, right? Like, for instance, your financials or sort of your taxes or whatever those things are. But I think you said something really important, which is that it does not absolve you from actually understanding the finances of your business, which is when you hear about embezzlement and you hear about these awful things that happens, it's because somebody is not paying attention.
Yeah.
I have a client actually who had a situation where she was being grossly overcharged for some services, and just nobody had their eye on the ball until they were pretty far down the road. And it stinks to have to try to fix that.
Yeah. I set out to learn all of it except taxes and legal. And part of that was that side too. I want to know what I need to look for. I want to know what I need to see. And even then I found some things like fall through the cracks sometime later. And it's like, how did that happen? Okay, more checks and balances. But it's important if you're growing a business. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're just in charge of the budget, right? If you're working for somebody and you're still in charge of like your team or your group's budget, it's still important to make sure that you understand what's happening. All right. My last question for you is that many leaders battle with imposter syndrome, and whether you like that term or not, we'd love to know what are the circumstances or situations where somebody can trigger you or you can feel a little lack of confidence? And then what do you do about it?
Yeah, I don't have this anymore, but it's taken some time early on to battle this. I didn't know what imposter syndrome was until the first year in my business and said to someone, every time I walk into a room, I feel like I am a 5-year-old in a suit. And they're like, oh, that's imposter syndrome. And I was like, what do you mean? And had to really do work around feeling my own confidence and self-worth. And it's almost like taking a camera and instead of it being your own eyes, turning it around on you and really looking at what if someone from the outside saw what you were doing, knew who you were, followed you? Would they think those things too? No,
Mm.
you're doing it, right? Actually, it's funny. I always go with a guide when I ice climb and I rock climb. He's amazing. He teaches me. His name's Doug, Mountain Skills. He says something every time we climb, and it's typically when I've just done a really hard move that I've been struggling with for a long time. He says, you're doing it. You're really doing it. Now, it's funny because he's like, you're ice climbing. And I'm like, shut up, Doug. And the reason it's so funny is because I had been doing it for hours before. And it's a joke of, okay, you just passed a hard move, but you're already doing it. Or you say, you're an ice climber. And well, I've always been. And it reminds me of that. You're already doing it. You, even if you're day one of starting your own business, guess what? You are an entrepreneur, you are a CEO, and you are a business owner. Full stop. Who cares if someone's been doing it more? Like you're doing it, you're making it happen. So I think it's important to figure out for yourself what that looks like, whether it's mantras or writing it down or reading a book or what work needs to be done to be like, I'm worthy. I am exactly where I need to be. I'm valuable. I'm exceeding or succeeding. It's important. But I don't have now, if I ever even get a twinge of feeling like I don't belong, which isn't necessarily imposter syndrome, I just leave. I think, you know what, maybe this isn't the circle for me, and that's fine. Not every circle is for me. And so this isn't for me. I'm going to go where I feel like I belong.
That is such good advice because I think we do very often mistake an external circumstance that is not the right place for us for some fault of our own.
Yeah.
I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had that happen when I did some networking down in what we call the Silicon Valley. And I would be at these networking events, and people would ask me, what companies have you worked for or with before? And if I couldn't name off four recognizable companies, they just dismiss you because in the valley, the credibility comes from having worked with name brand companies, either for or with, right? And I really came to the exact same conclusion that you have come to, as opposed to feeling bad about myself. I just decided this is not my world. If they don't value me because I haven't worked for Google, I'm so uninterested in that. I'm
You
out.
don't have to prove it to anyone.
That's right.
Yeah. I think this might be unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's important. I think when we're talking about disadvantaged groups, minorities, women, queer folk, insert whatever you want in that, people with disabilities, there's like a lot of talk of non-acceptance. I'm treated that way because X, Y, and Z. And I like to tell people, okay, then don't go in that room again because that's their problem and let them continue to be that way. Go where you're valued and where you feel like you belong because you're going to flourish there. Who cares what those people think about? Insert the thing. You don't have to prove to them anything. You don't have to be there. You don't have to deal with that. And you also don't have to be upset about it. Just let them be and go somewhere else where you're happy.
There you go. That's a perfect place for us to end this conversation. Leilani, thank you so much. So, Leilani Quiray, Be the Change HR. They're all over the country, so you can find her and their services all over. You've been listening to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I'm Kim Miller-Hershon. You know all the stuff. Download, listen, review, all the things, and go out there and be a better human.
Cliches retire, we set them free. Shaking the ground with epiphany. Fresh thinking loud, it's our decree. Unconventional wisdom dancing on the beat.